another edition of The Right Has Left, my podcast where I talk all things Trumpism, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party as well, and just basically all things politics from my point of view. And we have, as always, got so much news. You know, every week the White House and the Trump administration provides so much material. And what I like to do on these podcasts is select specific topics and kind of do a deep dive into those particular topics that sometimes the mainstream media does not go into. They just kind of brush over and bring you the news without really going into a lot of detail. So having said that, let's go ahead and get started on this week's episode of The Right Has Left. And let's start with some late breaking news that has been going on. And of course, the first thing that Trump is getting all excited about is about Hamas. Now, Hamas has agreed to the next phase of the Gaza deal. Trump says President Trump is going to get a nice ceasefire, and that the militant group Hamas has agreed to lay down their arms. And his International Board of Peace, which, of course, as you're well aware of, Trump has put together, which he controls, have agreed to the next steps in a peace deal that includes Hamas disarmament and the Gaza Strip. In a Truth Social post, the president called it a historic agreement for the complete disarmament of Hamas and all other armed groups in Gaza. This will be a monumental step towards the lasting peace and security. The exact timetable for disarmament, of course, is not clear. Hamas communicated through mediators that he has agreed to the final step of the plan, including decommissioning their weapons. U.S. and Board of Peace officials told the reporters Thursday. So, let's dissect that, all right? Number one, Trump's Board of Peace he controls. And it is there for one reason only: monetary gain. That's the first thing. So anytime Trump is involved with a peace deal, especially with Hamas, you know there has to be some kind of under-the-table dealings with that. I mean, I'm all for getting peace in the Middle East, and specifically for the Palestinian people. Don't get me wrong on that. And Trump has said over and over again that it is no secret that he wants to build hotels there and revitalize the economy there with Trump properties, Trump hotels, and put the people of Palestine back to work. That's what he says. The other sticking point on this deal is, for it to even happen, Israel has to stop bombarding the Gaza Strip in Palestine. They have not done that. They are still, besides, helping us, shell Iran, Israel is still shelling the Gaza Strip. So for Hamas to do anything, Israel has to also lay down their arms. That's not going to happen. Bibi is already pissed off at Trump for even announcing that deal. He wants Israel total control of the Palestinian people and that whole sector there. And as you're well aware of, going way back, Hamas was basically started by Israel. All right. So, and if you look back at the history of that, there was behind the scenes dealing how that all started, and you can look it up. But make a long story short, this is another thing where Trump, loves to blow his horn to try to get some favoritism back on his side, since his approval ratings are going down the sewer. And so he, announces this thing. And if it happens, I'll be totally surprised, because damn well Israel's not going to, agree to this. Just like everything else Trump comes up with, Israel either makes it fall apart, or if Israel announced something, Trump makes it fall apart. It's just the nature of the beast here, folks. So we'll have to wait and see if this thing materializes. But I can guarantee you right now, it sounds good as anything comes out of Trump's mouth, and about 3 to 4 days later, the deal, goes to shit. So we'll wait and see what happens. I don't hold your breath on it, though. go. So also this past Thursday, Trump's decision Thursday to signal he would rather pull the nomination of Todd Blanche, his pick to lead the Justice Department, rather than give in to the demands of Senator John Cornyn, of course, as you know, is retiring. He's going to be gone. And Tom Tillis, who demonstrated that the president's desire to thwart his enemies does not end with the demise of their political careers. Both Republican senators will be leaving Congress at the end of the year after running afoul of Trump, and both have found a degree of independence since becoming untethered from needing to keep in his good graces. But their efforts to exert leverage and seek to curtail a controversial settlement agreement reached in May between Trump and the Internal Revenue Service only promoted the president to double down. Yes, so anyway, Blanche is already Assistant Attorney General, so whether he's nominated to the permanent position or not doesn't really make a bit of difference. That's the whole thing that we're talking about here. He still is exercising his authority however he wants. So this is kind of an odd, somewhat funny story if you really get into it. But, Tillis, who said he's not going to even be seeking re-election last year after clashing with Trump over Medicaid cuts in his home state of North Carolina, betrayed little surprise when asked about Trump's resistance to bargain over the Internal Revenue settlement. He said, look up the definition, he said, who lost his bid for renomination to a fifth term representing Texas in May after Trump endorsed a scandal-prone opponent, brushed off the accusations that he was simply seeking revenge by blocking Blanche. He called Trump's claim a convenient excuse, but it's certainly not true. And he warned that the president was trying to wait him out is actually kind of a gamble on his behalf. Again, let's dissect this again. What we're talking about here is and of course, this is not only, Tillis and Cornyn. A lot of people are very concerned about Blanche's blanket deal that he gave to Trump, saying he could never be prosecuted at anything. And, he came up with this deal where he's going to be paid millions of dollars from a government that he runs, from the Internal Revenue Service, over, his taxes being exposed, which every president has been kind enough to do that except Trump, of course. Trump, it's what he says it goes. To make a long story short, you're aware of that backstory. So, again, he's probably going to pull Blanche's nomination and wait till these two guys in the midterms occur, and then he'll bring him back forth again. It doesn't change anything because Blanche is in a very unique situation as Assistant Attorney General just to still carry out Trump's orders, whatever he wants. So Trump says, screw you, I'll just pull his nomination and we can go about our business here. So it's kind of funny how Trump loves to exert his power. And Todd Blanche, as we're all aware of, he's the most bizarre guy. And he, again, as with everybody in Trump's cabinet, they're all butt kissers. And when Trump says jump, they all say how high. And other breaking news that Republicans are close to cutting that deal with their Democratic counterparts to avoid a government shutdown again. What is going to happen here is we're going to get money again approved to run the government again through December. GOP lawmakers are desperate to avoid another shutdown before the election because, of course, it would look bad on them on the midterms. But any proposal to quash President Trump's ability to hold up federal money from going to programs the administration deems woke could draw the president's opposition and scuttle a funding deal. So again, we've got issues here. What is actually going to be buried in getting the government funded, because Trump, again, he is continuing his march against anything that's woke, anything that's democratic, anything has to do with minorities, people with brown skin. The LGBT community, anything, he wants white privilege. That's it. White privilege or nothing. So that's how it's going on down there. So there would be a tactic agreement between from the GOP colleagues to postpone Trump's demand budget reconciliation package until after the election. Senate Majority Leader, again, John Thune, who is a Republican from South Dakota, said Thursday afternoon that he hopes a government funding deal comes together in time for the Senate to vote on it next week before the upper chamber leaves Washington for a 5-week August recess, so they can all go campaign and tell everybody just what great things they're doing and lie out of their teeth again to their constituents and to their people. There's a handful of issues that are still under consideration with the CR, but we filed it on today and we're setting it up. We're hoping to vote next week, Thune said, referring to the continuing resolution to fund the government through early December. So, again, this is all just, political ploys, and half of the Senate wants to kiss Trump's hind end and get this thing done and, bury some things in the reconciliation package. And some of the senators don't want to do it. Whether this thing is going to pass, and of course they're giving some concessions. I can't talk. They're trying to concede some things for their Democratic counterparts, as I just mentioned. Their concessions. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. and to get this thing through, and Trump doesn't like that. He doesn't want any concessions from the Democrats. It's either you do it my way or the highway. And this is getting Trump all upset. So we'll see where this goes. And you just have to watch the news. It's kind of interesting. Of course, Bibi is back in the news again, too. He just made a recent visit to Washington, D.C., and to try to drum up more money for the war in Iran. And it's interesting because the fact of the matter is he's starting to lose a lot of ground now with the people he has to work with there. And nearly half the Americans do believe that the U.S. should arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over his actions in Israel's war in Gaza, according to a new poll from The Economist YouGov. When asked if the United States should enforce an international criminal court arrest warrant for Netanyahu, 49% of the respondents in the poll said yes, while 27% said no, and 23% actually had no opinion. The ICC issued an arrest warrant for Netanyahu in November 2024, accusing him of using starvation as a method of warfare and committing war crimes against humanity, including murder and persecution. It also alleges that the prime minister intentionally directed an attack against the civilian population in Gaza. And last week, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani also said he should have him arrested if he ever sets foot in the state of New York, but he backed away from that comment. And he's because Netanyahu said he was going to fly to New York City for the annual United Nations General Assembly. And it's kind of funny, though, because how things are slowly falling apart for Bibi. He's starting to lose a lot of support. And I've mentioned this 100,000 times. I understand from a biblical point of view, the nation of Israel and what it stands for. And a lot of people in Israel are good people. But is right at this present moment, it's how it's being run. And if you look it up, Netanyahu's he was never even born in Israel. All right? He's not even technically from that nation of Israel. And so that's where we run into things, is all the Zionist support. And also his AIPAC, he has put millions and millions of dollars in the back pockets and has literally bought and sold our entire Congress. That's the other thing that pisses me off, and that's why you see that he's got everybody by the short hairs, and they have to do his bidding because he's paid them off. And we still have some people in there, especially a lot of our progressive Democrats, have refused to take money from Netanyahu and his AIPAC, but 95% of them have, and even the Democrats are guilty of this, guilty as hell, and that's why they're up in arms, unless they want to refund the money, but they haven't. They probably bought their boats and their second homes with his cash, and now they got to kiss his hind end. So this is what is kind of sad about all of this. All right. So, and again, we, speaking of, the United States, and speaking of these people in Iran, let's this guy right into now the latest news from the Iranian conflict. So President Trump told Fox News this past Wednesday that he would be hitting them hard when asked about a response to new attacks by Iran targeting U.S. forces in the Mideast. And of course, that has already happened. We have really escalated and stepped up our attacks on Iran. I don't see any time soon that we are going to get out of this conflict, ladies and gentlemen, because we are going back and forth. Just like what Trump just announced with the disarmament of Hamas, I don't see that really. If that thing holds together, I'll be shocked. I'm going to be honest with you, because Israel is not going to honor that. And just like now with Iran not honoring our situation with the agreement that we had with Iran because of this, the Strait of Hormuz, and now they got the Red Sea blocked by the Houthis. It's just going on, and folks, we have got ourselves in a freaking mess and no way out. At least 20 people were killed in a joint U.S.-Saudi strike on Iranian-backed forces in Iraq. An umbrella parliamentary group known as the Popular Mobilization Forces mentioned that. And then the Central Command said U.S. and Saudi forces conducted strikes late Tuesday on Iranian proxies in Iraq, the first confirmed attacks by a Gulf state during the war. So it's freaking sad, and there is just really no way out of this. And this guy, President Donald Trump, he'll say one thing and then do another. He'll 3 o'clock in the morning put out these outlandish posts about different things in relationship. I got this deal done. I got that deal done. As you're well aware of, everything with Trump's has got to be a deal. He thinks he's the world's greatest deal maker. And so far, every deal that he has proposed has fallen apart. And, his track record right now is not doing well. And speaking of Donald Trump, Adam Schiff did say this past Tuesday he's asking United States Securities Regulator to probe whether the social parent Trump Media's plan to sell early access to his social media posts breaks the law. As you're well aware of, Donald Trump has stated that he is going to sell early access to his social media posts that can help maybe people, do some nice little cool things with the stock market, which many folks say is totally illegal. And Trump Media, or TMTG as it's known as, unveiled a paid licensed data plan this past month that will give trading firms the fastest access to posts from the 10 most influential Truth Social accounts, including Trump's. This appears to be an outrageous abuse of President office for his personal benefit that undermines everyday investors and the integrity of our markets, while enriching Wall Street and other wealthy insiders, Elizabeth Warren also mentioned, as along with Schiff. And the July 28th letter to the Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Paul Atkins, that was who it was sent to. Now, a spokesman for the SEC and Atkins, a free market Republican appointed to the role by Trump, who has generally taken a softer stance on enforcement, confirmed receiving the letter but declined to comment. Of course, he's not going to. I'm going to tell you right now, this letter is just going to go right into the trash in what's going to be called File 13. They ain't going to do jack about this because Trump owns him too. And whether you think it's illegal or not, it's what Donald Trump does. It's just like what I mentioned earlier. The whole thing with Palestine. It's not. There's always got to be a money-making situation for Donald Trump and the things that he does. It's like his International Board of Peace, which his family sits on. All right. Everything has got money attached to it. And if you, the folks who watch this podcast, don't understand that, then I feel sorry for you. You must be under a freaking rock or something. You know that. He wants to build hotels in Palestine, in the Gaza Strip. The thing with True Social, it's about money. His entire family has bought and sold so much stuff in the Middle East. The Bitcoin thing. Trump has made billions and billions of dollars since becoming president. And even though he says, I don't touch any of that, I've got third-party people doing that, it's all bullshit, As soon as he gets out of office, all that money is just he's going to have free access to if he doesn't already. And his kids are micromanaging his accounts. And it's sad that this is what this has come to, but that's exactly what it is. So again, Trump is, he's also demanding that the Senate cancel its August recess to debate the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or the Save America Act, and advance a budget reconciliation package, which I just talked to you about at the beginning of this podcast. And of course, they're at odds as well what they want to put into that particular package. They said they're close to getting something closed with it because they've made a lot of concessions with the Democrats, but whether that's going to pass or not, I don't know. And another thing that has sadly come to it's really just hitting a lot of seniors, and this is actually kind of my top story that I want to talk about on this particular podcast. So the Trump administration this past Tuesday said it's going to end a subsidy program that has helped lower premiums for seniors enrolled in Medicare Part D prescription drug plans, a move that is expected to increase monthly costs for millions of Americans amid a broader affordability crisis. And ladies and gentlemen, this is just freaking sad. A lot of people, including myself, take advantage of Medicare Part D and the reduced pricing on that. It's going to increase, as I said, the premiums incredibly for a lot of seniors. Now, this has all been put together and announced by, this clown here, Dr. Oz, who is the administrator for Medicare and Medicaid. And when he made this announcement, people were just shocked. So the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, which is headed by this guy, announced that the conclusion of Part D premium stabilization demonstration for the coming year, just months before the start of Medicare open enrollment, will end. Now, Oz characterized the subsidy program as a bailout for insurance companies and said the premiums will just go up by less than $10 for most people on Medicare recipients. But again, that's BS. He doesn't have a clue. Prescription drug prices increased 37% in the last decade. Patient advocates have warned Trump that the tariffs on generic drugs could also drive up costs for millions of Americans. As you're well aware of it, Trump's got all these tariffs up there now. Trump accused the coordinated dismantling of the Medicaid program, but the Wall Street Journal, which reported the administration's move ahead of the public announcement, noted that nearly half of Medicare Part D plan enrollees would likely see increases largely in the $11 to $20 range a month. The subsidy program, established in the wake of the Biden-era Inflation Reduction Act, cut the average cost of Part D premiums by more than 25% this year. So Leslie Dodge, who is the chair of the advocacy group Protect Our Care, said in a statement that President Donald Trump and his Republican allies continue to force seniors to pay more while handing tax breaks to the billionaires and big corporations. And they're making health care actually more expensive for seniors at every turn, he said. And this is true. For older Americans living on fixed incomes, like all they have is Social Security, even an extra $10 or $20 a month can mean choosing between filling their prescriptions, paying an electric bill, or buying groceries. Seniors deserve lower prescription drug costs and affordable health care. 25 million Americans are enrolled in standalone prescription drug plans through Medicare Part D, folks, which is offered by private Medicare-approved companies. Another 31 million Americans are enrolled in Medicare Part D via privatized Medicare Advantage plans, like myself. I use Medicare Advantage myself. I'm eligible at my age to do that. And our rates are going to go up as well. And, Dr. Oz, I don't think he's researched this at all, other than Trump told him to do this, The prices of insurance is just absolutely crazy. Now, a lot of seniors vote. And for you seniors out there who think you're loyal Republicans, you really need to take a look at this and see what this is going to do to you. Now, if you're a wealthy senior and you've got, $5,000 a month to piss around and not have to do anything with it, well, good for you. And this probably won't affect you. But as I just show you on those statistics, millions of seniors don't have that unfortunate luxury. All right. They worked paycheck to paycheck their entire life. They didn't have rich mommy and daddies feed them with a silver spoon. You got to understand that all these congressional people that sit on their butts in Congress have all their health care insurance provided to them at zero cost via you, the taxpayer. They don't pay a frickin' dime for anything, and they've got it for the rest of their life because they served in Congress. So they don't give a shit, President Trump doesn't give a shit. He's a billionaire. Most of your senators and congressmen that sit in there on their hind ends, there are some that care about you as the seniors, but again, their health care is provided to them for the rest of their freaking life at no cost. They've got luxury Cadillac plans that you, the taxpayers, pay for. So when you hear stuff like this, ladies and gentlemen, especially you, the seniors, you really need to take a hard look at this, how you're going to vote in the midterms. These Republicans don't give a rat's about you and your health care. They don't. The other reason Trump is pushing this, so you'll go to Trump RX and buy your drugs for cash. Well, that's the only way that works. And you think you're going to get a hell of a deal. And Trump RX has already been proven to be really not that big of a cost-saving website. Generic drugs are at the same price. The other thing you got to think about is I just read there, Trump has jacked up tariffs to 20 to 30%, especially on drugs that are come from Canada and maybe overseas to you that you buy where you've been buying those generics. Those prices are going to go up. So when you come time for open enrollment back in October and you're going to see this benefit gone, you see what's going to happen? Wake the frick up. Use some critical thinking skills. You, the seniors, are getting screwed. And you don't even feel it. So think about this, I'm sorry to get on the bandwagon. That's why I wanted to make this my top story here. This thing is just, it infuriates me how they are cutting Medicare and Medicaid. And the only reason they do it is because, again, of the white privilege agenda of Project 2025. Seniors do no longer contribute to the working society, so we don't need them. Go out to your North 40 pasture and please pass away peacefully. If you are over 65, what good are you? You're not contributing to the wonderful American machine of making profits for the rich. That's what it is. You can't contribute to the capitalistic society anymore. So, let's just keep cutting your benefits and maybe you'll go off somewhere and peacefully pass away. Why should the government take care of you? It's not necessary. That's basically what they think. So, another breaking news here today on the Right Has Left podcast. Dr. Anthony Fauci is back in the news again. He kept repeating the Fifth Amendment to himself and declined to answer questions, dozens of questions, as a matter of fact, from senators on a Republican-led committee hearing about his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, that's pretty scary there, isn't it? This guy's 85 years old, and they were drilling him like he was just no tomorrow because they are all pissed off because Dr. Fauci made people wear masks during the COVID-19 pandemic. And they're trying to come out with the theory that the COVID-19 pandemic wasn't as bad as they thought it would be because they found some notes about his, and they accused him of lying under oath. Now, Dr. Fauci, of course, has been pardoned by Joe Biden because they knew early in 2025 because they knew this was going to come down the pike when he got out of office. And the Republicans still think that he should go to jail. They're just all upset because of his response about COVID-19. They didn't think that schools should have been dismissed and people had to wear masks. They think businesses shouldn't have been closed. And Rand Paul of Kentucky, who has had a long, antagonistic relationship with Fauci is one that started all this. And again, all Fauci did was I declined the answer. I believe the Fifth Amendment. And he himself, of course, Fauci, become a kind of a polarizing figure. He's even gotten death threats from people, So he didn't say anything to the ridiculous panel. The Democrats, of course, the few that were on the panel, said that he was a great guy and did a lot about protecting the American public from COVID-19. But, you always got these conspiracy theorists and Donald Trump himself that thought it was a joke. But, do you remember in Trump's first term, though, how he loved Dr. Fauci. And, Trump said that maybe Clorox, if you drink that might clean out the COVID-19 vaccine and or the COVID-19 disease and stuff. He was serious about that. This is the same president that said maybe we can put a nuclear bomb up in the atmosphere and that would take care of hurricanes. I don't know. So, and again, a GOP-led subcommittee back even 2024 found no evidence of wrongdoing by Dr. Fauci. And he did, really what he had to do. But again, these Republicans, unless we have control of everything, we have to do this. So this is a waste of taxpayers' money. Drilling this guy, he already has immunity from prosecution. He's been pardoned, but they still want to get up there and grandstand, get the television cameras on him so they can go, look at us. Elections are coming up. Look what I'm doing for you, the American people. Vote Republican. God awful stupid stuff. I don't understand it at all. But that's what you've got. Mm-hmm. All right. So in other news, we gotta keep moving on here. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, he's back in the news. He has issued an ultimatum now to Senator Mitch McConnell. Yeah. He is saying, dude, where are you? And you've got to come forth and make your known presence because we want to know, are you alive or not? And are you going to finish your term out? And so says Andy Beshear. Now, he's been kind of quiet lately about really making a decision, and he still kind of is because the Republicans, I can tell you right now, really don't want you, the American people, to know anything about what's going on with Senator Mitch McConnell. But Andy is getting to the point now. Either you come forth and tell us if you're going to finish your term or not, or resign. Now, the Republican senator and former GOP leader has not been seen in public since his hospitalization for an unspecified medical condition on June 14th. McConnell's office continues to release statements and 2 photos, which some people say are doctored, with his wife, saying that, he's okay, he's in rehab, but that has done little to quell the growing demand for more information. Even other Republican congressmen and senators are wondering, Mitch, are you okay? Just give us a sign, And, of course, going back here to Andy, he is also being considered perhaps as a possible Democratic candidate for president in 2028. He's quite popular among not only his people in Kentucky, but also elsewhere. He's young and vibrant, and so he may be running for president as well. We're not sure, but he has a possibility of doing so. And you can't blame the people wondering about what's going on with Mitch. It's just absolutely crazy. Is he okay? Is he not? Is he okay? Is he not? We don't know. Anyway, that's my podcast for this week on The Right Has Left. I appreciate you all attending and watching. I do look forward to your comments. Please keep in mind, I'm very passionate about this deal with Medicare Part D being done away with, because I can tell you right now, Dr. Oz is full of shit. It's going to cost the seniors a hell of a lot more than just 10 or 20 bucks. And even if it is, let's just say it is 10 or 20 bucks. For a senior that is living on fixed income, who may be in a nursing home and depends on that, who may be getting assisted living care, or isn't living in a subsidized apartment, they still have to pay rent. That is still a lot of money to these folks, because that's all they got. And again, Dr. Oz and all these rich cronies on Capitol Hill, they don't give a crap. They got everything handed to them, everything given to them. They don't have a clue how the real world lives. They don't. All they think about is appeasing their base, and which is kind of funny, because a lot of these people who do support Trump's administration, they probably actually are on this themselves. They may have disabilities or just don't have any critical thinking skills, and they don't really know how this is going to affect them until it does hit them. And a lot of seniors, your baby boomers vote Republican, and this is going to hit them in the pocket. So, after you've already voted Republican, and then, you start seeing your Medicare premiums go up, you're going to go, gee, why is that happening? I don't understand. Anyway, figure it out, okay? All right. Until next time, you try to have a good week. This is Roy Garden. Take care.